Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the Cruise Amigos live from London. And of course, we have our usual crew down at least to my screen, in the lower left-hand corner. The fella over there in London is Pete. He started all this craziness. I'm sorry, my other computer was on. I didn't mean to make noise in the background. But anyway, that's Pete Hall. Say hello, Pete.
Yeah, hello, Pete. Cheers, everyone. I have
Okay, cheers from Pete. And then down below me, at least on my screen, is John Reitmeyer. He's up there in Crookston, Minnesota. And we're freezing to death over here in the States. Both of us are it's cold. I got on a long sleeve shirt, long pants, and I don't like it at all. And of course, our guest today, back for the, I don't know, how many times you've been on now?
Third time.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Sue Bryant, who is the cruise editor of the Sunday Times. So, Sue, welcome to the Cruise Amigos again.
Thank you.
I have several things to get caught up on. Since we last talked to you, you were in Greece. So I know we've got a couple of cruises and we've got several things that you've done. But before we get to any of that, I got to ask a business question. Michael Bailey, the CEO of Royal Caribbean, yesterday said that there's all kinds of people writing the CDC in our country that are some kind of groups that hate cruising, negotiating and about making the CDC extend the guidelines for cruising. Have you heard anything about that?
I saw some of the comments or examples of some of the comments that people had put on, because it is an open consultation with the CDC, so anyone can post their lunatic opinion or whatever. And some people were saying, let's get on with it, let's get back to cruising, and other people are saying the usual petri dish stuff and sink them all and blah blah. But that's what you get when you invite public comment on something that I think personally is a business issue and a protocol issue and a hygiene issue. It's not. Why do they need to have 7,000 comments or whatever it was from members of the public? We kind of know that people who want to cruise will cruise, and people who call it a petri dish will never cruise.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with you. Bailey, the CEO of Royal Caribbean, is saying because they had this block of anti-cruise people that he wants people to go to the CDC and put in positive comments. The CDC thing ends tomorrow.
And what did they expect? I mean, what? Really? Are we surprised by this? No, we're not remotely. I'm not. And I'm sure Michael Bailey's not surprised, because if you make it public that you're going to open this thing to debate, the cruise haters will go mad. They'll go wild. And they did.
Yeah.
But I mean, surely the CDC knows better than to kind of listen. They're all here as well.
They are government employees, after all.
Well, yes, quite.
I think you're correct there, Sue. If you allow the haters to get out there, and I saw one today, a big headline saying, "We have to stop these idiots," with a picture of a cruise ship. I was like, what?
Well,
and we have to, and please, and that's crazy, isn't it? I wanted to ask you a question about with cruising at the moment, because you're working for the Sunday Times, cruise editor of the Sunday Times, so you've really got your ear to the ground. And one of the things we don't really see a lot of, any real publicity about, MSC have been cruising now. I think they've had 4 cruises. Successful cruises. Is it 5? Wow.
Doing really well.
Costa, I think maybe 1 or 2. I'm not too sure at the moment. We haven't seen it. How do you think they've done?
The what? Sorry?
How do you think MSC have handled everything?
I think MSC have been fantastic. I think they've been really good. And I think that what is particularly impressive is the fact that they're not afraid to be strict. So on the very first cruise, they kicked off 4 people who strayed from one of their bubble shore excursions. And I think that really gets the message home that, we will not tolerate this, because they do not want a case on board. They've got to stop it getting on board. So I think they've done really well. I mean, we're not hearing about it here because it's only open to people who are in the Schengen zone. So it's not open to Brits. So, of course, British media only really covers stuff that's open to Brits to do, and I'm sure the American media is very similar, that if it's not relevant to you, it might not be covered. So because we've got MSC, we've got Costa starting, and we've got AIDA starting now in October, but again for Germans, but in Italy. So I think these cruise lines are really, really going for it. And I really wish some of the big line, the Carnivals and the Royals and all that would just do something.
You do say that we wouldn't really see much about it. I just have to question that part, Sue, because I'm wondering, well, if anything did go slightly wrong, they would be ready to pounce with all the bad publicity about it. That was my biggest worry, was something went wrong, and then some of the press that are against cruises would obviously glorify it and say, here we go again, cruises taking COVID around the world and stuff. That would be my biggest worry.
No, what all these cruise lines who are now announcing their protocols, they're mainly tiny ones that are actually going to start. I mean, these are 3 big ones that I named, but their biggest aim is to not let it on the ship. Yeah. Which is where Hurtigruten went wrong. It was on the ship. If you keep it off the ship, and if you keep everyone on the ship in a bubble, which is very challenging on a big ship, but then you've got to have another stage of a plan if somebody brings it on the ship. And you've got to stop it spreading. And I suppose this is going to be the biggest issue. If one case gets on a ship, everyone goes into lockdown, the cruise is cancelled, then it's a nightmare. But I mean, God, how many stories have we heard about bars and hotels and resorts and ski resorts and everything where it's spread like wildfire? Like that guy in the news today who came back from holiday in Bolton and went on a pub crawl or something, or he went on a coach party and infected 200 people or whatever.
Yeah.
No one's using a petri dish there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we only hear the bad, we don't hear the good.
With cruises,
MSC has had five cruises now with no problems, at least that we know about.
I think that
Costa is on their second, and I have not heard anything of any type of problem with Costa so far. Their second ship actually sails today.
Yeah. And I mean, German cruise lines, obviously AIDA's part of a bigger group anyway, but the German cruise lines like Hapag-Lloyd have been sailing, French cruise line Ponant has been sailing. And I can't remember what they said. They sent a release out this week saying they'd done so many cruises, but they've done loads. So
and there's other cruise lines that people don't even know about. Katarina cruise line in Croatia. They've been sailing successfully, which is fantastic. Yeah. Majestic Cruise Line. They've been sailing in Scotland.
That's amazing. That's really nice. That's
incredible, isn't it? Sure. All doing a fantastic job. All these smaller cruise lines that people don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish the big ones would not keep cancelling again and again and just do something to give us some faith.
Well, if we could get the CDC to give us some slack in this country, but then our problem here is safely getting to a cruise.
Yeah, and for instance, Sean just said, I'd rather be on a cruise than stuck in a tube or in a bar in London. The ironic thing about it, in some ways, Sean's correct, because that MSC ship, the last 5 weeks, has probably been one of the safest places to be in the world.
Yes, what you were saying about getting to the cruise, that's one of the reasons why the German market is doing so well, because a lot of Germans can drive to the port. So if they're doing a river cruise like the one I did, or if they're sailing from Hamburg, they will drive to the port. They won't use public transport. Stay in your little secure group. Yeah. And I suppose Americans who live near the coast can do that, but for everyone else, it's a long way.
What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of months with cruises, Sue? What is your gut feeling yourself, what's going to happen?
Well, my gut feeling was that we were going to start up again, and that finally these endless delays and cruises being put off would be resolved. Certainly in Europe, or here in the UK. I mean, Europe is kind of resolved, but in the UK. But now we have more cases. Now everybody's attention is focused on our growing case numbers. I don't know, but I do think that small cruise lines, which are not dependent on the British market, are starting up all over the world. They're getting on with it, and I think that will continue. I hope.
And do you think it can happen in America? Do you think our American friends, do you think that in the near future, Chile and John can jump on a ship if they want to?
They would be able to get to Barbados soon and get on a ship if they took multiple tests, and they could get themselves to Barbados. Yes. But it's possible, but I mean, how you would do that, I don't even know if Barbados is open to American passengers, because, you know, Sea Dream Yacht Club is going to start up there.
Got a question from Addison. Sorry, Chili. I'll just go for the question quickly. Sue, why do you think no cruise line has tried to do a test cruise around the UK cruise with UK only passengers? What a really great question, Addison.
Well, yes, indeed. And there was a time, like probably about 6 weeks ago, where we all had very high hopes for this. We all thought that Fred Olsen would do one, or Saga, and of course Hurtigruten was supposed to start sailing. But the problem is, because all the ships are laid up at the moment, they're in a thing called warm layup, so they're sort of ready to go. But you've got to crew a ship, you've got to get the crew in, you've got to get them through immigration, you've then got to isolate the crew, sell the cruise, and I think that the cruise lines are just thinking it's too much effort. It's too difficult to do this on a test basis. That's right. Viking was the other one that actually, I think, put out feelers to their audience, and the audience said, yes, we want to cruise around Britain, we would do it. And a lot of people said we would do it and not even get off the ship. But I think just the sheer effort and expense of getting a ship up and running, especially when testing and tracking and tracing in the UK is very poor, it's not like Germany. So that's, I think, sadly why it's not done. But little bits of cruising in the UK are possible, as I found out last week. So, yeah. Yeah,
we're looking forward to hearing about them. Chili, sorry.
Might as well go right there. Tell us about last week's cruise at a staycation, you called it.
It was a staycation, yes. I drove to the port. It was a river cruise on the River Severn, which runs up sort of the Welsh border, if you can picture the map of Britain, between England and Wales, through Gloucestershire and Worcestershire, and very beautiful, very serene, a ship I'd never heard of. But all these things are now, you know, oh, there we are. Yeah, there it is, the Edward Elgar.
Oh, wow.
Look at it. It's sweet.
Wow.
Yeah. And look at it just tied up to the riverbank like that. And the whole of the trip was, I mean, some nights we were tied up by a pub, which is always very helpful. But well, that's going through a lock, or it's going past a lock, to a lock, not sure. Anyway, but yeah, you just poodle along the river. It's very quiet. There's sheep grazing in the fields either side of you, and sometimes you tie up in town, sometimes you tie up by a pub, sometimes it's just by the river, and it's that's what it looks like. And so I discovered a corner of Britain that my brother actually lives there, so I do go there, but all we do is go to the pub. We don't do any sightseeing. So I did some sightseeing. Oh, there I am. That's at Worcester Cathedral, with my Worcestershire gin. And that was an amazing place that we went to, called Whitley Court, which is that's actually a ruin that was burned down, where lots of decadent parties went on in the 1930s. So, you know, you see all these things. Okay, slow down with the pictures. That's
sorry.
No. If you go back to the dining, I can explain. This is a very small boat, and you can see the plastic screens. So normally they'd have bigger tables, so you would mingle more with the other people. But because of COVID, they've got these plastic screens, so you stay in your own little group. So we were a group of 2, and that's my little booth you're looking at. And there's tea and coffee making in there. And you sit there, you have all your meals there. I sat and worked on my laptop there. So that's what would normally be a dining room. Oh, yes, and that's what welcomed us on board. Clotted cream and strawberries and scones.
And most importantly, Sue?
Oh, sherry trifle. Yay. That was so good. Really retro food. It was amazing.
I'm getting my act together slowly with the pictures. So here we go. And there's one more picture from this cruise I've got to show. I love this. Sue, this is the captain, yeah?
Yes, Captain Steve. Look at him. He was a dude. He was cool. So this picture is we were approaching a very low bridge in Worcester with low arches. And he said that one of the arches was full of branches and things that had been washed down by a storm. So we had to take aim at a specific arch. And so we put this chicken hat on. You can see he's in the open air. So he's taken down his front windshield, and he's taken the roof, the ceiling off the bridge. So we're just going for it. And I stood up on the bridge with him when we went under. It's like straight over your head.
Did you get to wear the chicken hat?
No. Well, I mean,
you would have looked great in the chicken hat.
Yeah, it was fun.
How many passengers?
Well, normally it would take only 22, but because of COVID, they're limited to 18. So there were 18 of us. But these things, they're selling really well. They're very popular because Brits are like well, like Americans, like Germans, like cruise loving people. We just want to cruise. We'll find something. You know, we're so anxious to get away that we'll find something, some way of doing it. And that's how this company sort of came into my radar, really. And it was brilliant. We had such a nice time.
And have you written about it for the Times and the Sunday Times?
Yeah, it was in last Sunday.
So our viewers, if they want to, I think you need to subscribe, don't you? But they go to the Sunday Times, they can actually in.
It was in last Sunday, and it was also on a different version of it is on cruisecritic.co.uk.
Okay, so either way, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, a different version, but yeah, it's been in.
Where all did the cruise go? Where were your stops?
It started in Gloucester, which is where their base is, and then we went to a place called Tewkesbury, where we went to the pub. Then we went to Worcester, which is where the beautiful cathedral is. And Worcester's a lovely, lovely old town. And then we went further up the river to a place called Stourport, and that's where that beautiful Whitley Court was. And then it turns around and it goes back, and it stops at Upton-on-Severn, which is another lovely old riverside town. And then it goes further south, because I got off in Stourport, because they wanted to have another journalist on after me. So we split the cruise. So, and then
how many nights were you on there, Sue? How many nights?
3.
Wow.
So they do anything from, I think the shortest cruise is 2 nights and the longest is 6, I think. So I would have stayed on. I was so chilled. It was really relaxing. I definitely have done at least another night. I just love going along the river.
Really, John, that's the west of England, but by the way, just so you know, because you probably haven't got a clue where it is geography-wise, yeah. And it's a beautiful part of the world. And I
mean, we were very lucky. It was sunny, and I mean, there was one day where it rained, and they had this ritual where every day they played deck quoits on the top deck. You know, where you chuck these rope rings and you have to get them onto targets. And then one day it rained, so they just took the deck quoits inside, and we played it in the restaurant in the lounge. And we had like a can of beans and a can of tomatoes, and you had to get your quoit over that, and then you just throw it with your eyes shut. And yeah, it was.
How strict were they on board with everything? Did you have to wear masks and things?
Yeah, you had to wear a mask to walk around the ship.
Yeah,
it was a one-way system. The screens, those perspex screens, were the strictest thing. So they wouldn't even lean over you to serve you. They would put everything on a tray beside your screen. So your prawn cocktail gets put down, then you have to pick it up and put it in front of you. And then when you finish, you put the plate back on the tray, because they said we don't want to be leaning over you. And the crew have got these, you know, there's visor things. And so, but to be honest, we're so used to this now. It doesn't feel unusual. It's fine.
I was going to say, how much did that spoil the enjoyment of the cruise, or did you just really enjoy it anyway?
No, it didn't spoil it at all. Like I said, because we're used to it. The one thing I did find odd, and they had this on the German cruise I did as well, is you have to opt in to having your cabin cleaned. I mean, to me, one of the joys of cruising, because I'm very untidy, is having someone come and clean the cabin twice a day and tidy up all the mess.
3 times. 3 times.
I have to ask a question, Sue. Did you find anybody in your cabin by any chance?
No. No. I mean, we opted. We didn't opt in. The cabins were tiny, and
that makes a change, doesn't it? Yeah.
What you saying? That I would normally find someone in my cabin? Oh, sorry, I told Bob and that drunk. Yes. The travel agent was sleeping in my bed. God, yes, I've forgotten about that.
Yeah, anybody who haven't seen that story, so you turned up on a cruise ship and you found somebody sleeping in your bed when you went to check in. Yeah. And travel agent. That's quite a shock when you open the doors, in case anyone is confused by that.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Snoring in the bed. God, that was awful.
All right, so we have to go back a week before that, and you were in Germany.
I was.
On Viva?
Viva Cruises, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bigger boat.
Yes, and American viewers will recognize that, because it's the ship that's used. I never know how you pronounce it. Is it talc or tauk? I would just
Tauk.
The German way. So this is the Tauk Inspire. This is a ship that's covered in Tauk branding, and it's one of the ships they use for their Rhine cruises. But because it's very complicated, because they are not using it, because Americans aren't traveling. The parent company, which is Skiller, has this little subsidiary called Viva, and they're using up all the excess ships, or some of them, that are not being used by the normal charter guests. So we had this fantastic, super deluxe 5-star ship for an absolutely bargain price on the Rhine. So that was, Americans will recognize that as the Talc Inspire. So
we have a message from Janine. Hello, Janine, our river cruise queen. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good to see Sue's back on board. Love the Edward Elgar captain.
Yes, Captain Steve with his chicken hat.
Yeah, he's still in the show. I love it. Thank you. And this was a couple. I've got a few more photographs that you sent me, so I'll go through them, Sue.
This is on the Inspire. This was the pool. So if you wanted to use barely a swimming pool, it's a plunge pool. But if you wanted to use this, you had to book it, and you could only have 2 people sorry, not 2. You can only have the occupants of one cabin in the pool or in the sauna or in the steam room. So for social distancing.
Wow. And this is a photograph that we all want to take again of ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that makes us all so jealous, doesn't it, guys? Yeah. I mean, that's a wonderful feeling to have that photograph when you're on board. I'm sure we're going to. I have to show this as well.
Well, we need to have contrast, don't we?
Yeah, the reality. and a castle. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful.
That's at the Lorelei, isn't it? Isn't that where the Lorelei is?
It's near the Lorelei, yes. It's near St. Goarshausen. And it's, I mean, all along the Rhine is just beautiful. All along the middle bit, the romantic Rhine, through the gorge is just one castle after another. So, yeah, you just sit on deck and you just watch that going by. It was gorgeous.
That is
just really funny because
stunning.
Normally, to me, I mean, I know it sounds really awful, but I've been on lots of Rhine cruises, and normally I say, "Oh yeah, the Rhine, whatever." But someone's like, "Oh my God, the Rhine! I'm so excited! I can't wait!" And it was wonderful. Oh, look, this was our cabin. These are very, very lovely cabins on this ship. Look how big it is for a river cruise. That's it's like a double-sized cabin. So you can see the sitting area, which has got one balcony, and then there's another balcony in front of the bed. So yeah, it was. I like that ship very much indeed.
I've just got 2 more photos that you sent here.
Oh, the cakes. Well, Germans, you've got to remember they're nearly all German passengers, although it's an international cruise, but Germans love their coffee and cakes. So every afternoon the cake trolley would come round, even if you were up on deck. So yes, that was the cakes. This is after we had a huge breakfast.
I hope Julie's watching. A friend of mine, Julie, who does the cakes, who was on our show earlier. You know, was a dancer back in the days as well.
Oh yes.
You know, and does the best cakes ever, to be honest. Look at that.
Look at the food. I mean, that was my veggie starter one day, but the food was beautifully presented. And when you think what this cruise is selling for at the moment, which is like I think it's 415 euros for 3 nights, all inclusive, with the most extraordinary food and included drinks as well. So it's you know, it's very, very good value. And if you went with Talc, you'd pay an awful lot more. I mean, obviously you get all the tours and everything and the flights and all that, but I think this is a steal, this cruise. It's really very good value.
That's incredible.
All right, now you've been on several river cruises recently. Well, you've been on several cruises in general. Do you still feel totally safe?
Yes, I do. Yes, completely safe. I've done, so since COVID, I've done the Greek one, the Greek islands, or no, the Peloponnese, and then the German one, and then the Edward Elgar. I haven't done any others. So, and I've been to Spain on a personal holiday. So no, I feel completely safe.
I'd like to know what you've got. What have you got in 2021 next year? Yeah, what have you got booked to? What have you got booked for next year? Because I don't know if you know, we are going to be doing a European tour. Yeah, so what have you got booked for next year?
Your European tour.
Yeah, you're going to join us.
I've got nothing booked because you can't book anything. We don't know really what's going to happen. So I've got lots of things I want to do, and we'll cover. I mean, in the Sunday Times, we like all the newsy stuff, so we'll cover anything that's new, or has an angle, or a new ship, or a new line, and there are new lines coming. But I haven't made any firm bookings. I'm still trying to salvage what's left of this year. I mean, hoping to get on Sea Dream in Barbados, which will be incredible, and hoping to get to the Seychelles in January because this cruise is starting there. So, and then TUI River Cruise, which is aimed at Brits, at adults only Brits. They're starting in November, also in Germany. So, hello, Jack.
Greetings. Oh, Chili, do you want to do this one?
Greetings from Houston suburb, Texas, where it's 73 degrees. Wow. Hey,
Hi,
Jack, glad to have you with us.
I had to say hi, Jack. Sorry. It just came out.
Yes. Yeah, I just got that.
Yeah.
Oh.
You mentioned Sea Dream. You did the Sea Dream Symposium this week.
The press conference. Well, yeah, it was
Yeah.
the conference thing. Yes, I did. Yes.
Was that primarily on them starting the cruises from Barbados?
Yeah, because they've got both ships in Norway at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're repositioning them to Barbados. They are heavily dependent, I believe, on this twice daily, twice weekly, I think, British Airways service that's going from London to Barbados. So Europeans can feed into that via Heathrow or Gatwick. And then they can board the ship. But there's going to be all sorts of testing. It's going to be, Jack is putting me off. There's going to be super strict testing and protocols. I mean, really strict. And I mean, at the moment for us in the UK, that's an issue to get a test. I think you can pay and have a private test, but so, you get tested before you get on the plane, you get tested when you get off the plane, you get tested before you get on the ship, which is fine, which is why I say I feel safe cruising.
I would be perfectly happy, especially if they get these rapid tests.
Yeah.
Widely used. I call them the pregnancy test.
Well,
yeah, I'll take that 10 times a day. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
And to be honest, you have your temperature taken. So on Variety cruises in Greece and on Viva and on the Edward Elgar, we had our temperature taken every day. And in the beginning, you think, oh my God, what have I got a temperature? But you just get used to it. It's, I mean, I'm glad I didn't have a temperature, but it becomes normal to go and sit down, and they come and they point the thing at your head and they say, yeah, you're fine. So, I mean, this is the way it's going to be from now on, I think. And if Sea Dream want to be even stricter, then good for them.
Do you find more of these being politically correct people that say, I'm not wearing a mask?
You couldn't do that on a ship.
Okay.
They wouldn't, it wouldn't, I mean, the cruises I've done have been only European. So there's been a mixed group on Variety cruises, and everybody wore masks, and Germans are very compliant. I mean, everybody wears a mask there. And on the Edward Elgar, Brits wore a mask. When you're sitting on the top deck, you don't have to wear one. And also we have this track and trace system. So every excursion we did from the Edward Elgar, they had to send ahead our details, our phone numbers, our email, even to get into a stately home or something, you have to send your track and trace. So you just get used to it. It's so people who say I don't want to wear a mask, I think, to be honest, probably shouldn't go on a cruise, because I think they'd be unpopular. I also think, whatever your feelings are about masks, it's not that difficult to wear a mask.
In normal time too, your job as cruise editor of the Times, the Sunday Times, yeah.
Yes.
How often would you normally post in normal times? How often would there be a write-up every week? Would it be every sort of month? How regular would you normally write about the cruise industry?
In the Times, it really depends on the on what's new, what's newsy. I mean, we have the main. I mean, I work for the Times and the Sunday Times now. And we have the main travel section in both every weekend, but we also have cruise specials. So we would normally have 5 cruise specials a year. So that's packed full of cruise things. So 3 or 4 pieces, big roundups, news pieces, interviews. So yeah, that would be quite a lot of pages. But next year they'll be coming back. So we've just got to get this CDC thing sorted out.
When you say cruise specials, are they holidays that they organise via the Sunday Times for different places? Is that what it is?
No, that's different. No, these are editorial, like a supplement, like a cruise supplement, but it's all about cruising. So it might be 16 pages in the main travel section, but it's all about cruising.
So how often do you write now, while all this craziness is going on?
I'm doing lots of things now. I'm doing lots of weird things. I don't
appearing on our show.
I don't only write about cruising. I do write about other stuff. So I've written a piece next week about the Indian Ocean, because that's beginning to open up again for hotel stays, and Seychelles for cruising. And then what else is coming up? Oh, I've done all sorts of things. I've done a piece about London Zoo. I'm doing lots of different stuff at the moment. But and I'm going to Italy next week, but on an escorted tour, which is really funny, because normally I'd be a bit snobby about these things and say, you're an escorted tour, like a coach tour or whatever. And yet a river cruise is not that different to that kind of thing. And I'm going on my own, and I'm going to Lake Garda, and I'm going to go to Venice, which is one of my favorite places. And obviously Venice is nearly always full of ships, and there's going to be no ships there. So that's going to be very interesting.
We'll get on to Venice in a second, actually. I've got a couple of shots to show you, but I just want to get back to Jack. Jack Wise has said, I'm watching because I had 3 solo cruises booked between late November through to May. Fingers crossed, no cancellations. It's a tough one, Sue, isn't it, on that?
I have more hope for the May one than the November one, frankly. I mean, look.
Yeah, I would as well. But you're talking about Venice. I mean, there you are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was such a great trip. Where you dredged that up from?
I know. I've dredged it up from there.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the best trips I've ever done, that kayaking around Venice. It was just, I mean, I've been to Venice so many times that it's a way of seeing the city. Look how big the gondolas look, you see, behind me. And when you kayak and you come up against a gondola, it's like coming up against a double-decker bus.
I mean, I have to admit, Sue, I'll be honest with you, one of the Amigos has been very naughty, and that's John. Yeah, John has obviously gone through a load of photographs. He's been a naughty boy, and he's been finding things like oh,
you've seen that one.
Yeah, this is a lovely photograph.
That was Dubai last year. Yeah, that was a good trip too. P&O.
That was nice. Yeah. And can you explain this one?
Break that down now. That was the polar plunge. Take it away. We've seen enough. Please, off.
Yeah, there we are. I told you his bit. And there.
Oh my God, I'm being stalked. No, well, that was in Petra, in Jordan. That was a Thompson cruise, as it was then, which is Morella now. So, God,
I'm certainly glad that Pete's blaming this on John. That's
what did I do? I'm not a technology guy. I don't know what this is.
There are some wonderful photos. There really are.
My hands are clean.
Look,
my heart is pure.
Look.
Is that on the Norwegian ship? It is, isn't it? In the ice bar. Yeah,
it was. You lot should know about that.
I have never done that. I really want to do it. Someone just commented, by the way.
Don't go in the ice bar. Just come to Minnesota in April. It's the same experience. And I won't charge you $14 a drink.
Emily, she said she's a little jealous because she wants to do kayaking.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, I in fact looked at the Venice Kayak website the other day because they were having issues with not being allowed on the canals last year, and they are still operating, so it can be done.
You can okay. And how about this as well?
Well, that's close to home. That's just from here. That was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Cruising. That's a paddleboard.
That's wonderful. Emily, you can maybe try that. Do you want me to carry on, Sue? Because John's been very naughty. Yeah.
Especially polar plunge. God.
But I love this photograph though.
Oh, that was in Cuba. Yeah, that was a fantastic cruise. Yeah, so I wasn't actually driving it, obviously, but yeah.
Who was that with? Which cruise line was that?
That was with what was then called Cuba Cruise. So that was 2015, I think. And of course, no one's going there anymore. No one's doing Cuba anymore because of the.
I was going to ask that. If I wanted to cruise to Cuba, I've holidayed in Cuba a number of times. Absolutely love the country, love the people. It's incredible. Fell in love with it. I really did. Yeah. I used to go back with a suitcase half full because I used to leave all my clothes for the people, and things like that. That's what you do.
Did they like that? Did they want your clothes?
Amazingly, they did. Yeah. Could you believe it? Scary, isn't it?
He just brought the rum back. He didn't care about the clothes. He just brought more rum back. That's what the deal was.
Yes.
Yes. I'm clothing the people of Cuba. Yeah.
Yeah, with my dodgy taste in fashion, unfortunately. There's a lot of people walking around with some dodgy clothes now in Cuba. But do you think that's going to open up again, and to our American friends as well? If I wanted to go to Cuba again, how could I do that?
Well, I mean, on a cruise, I don't know. Cruise ships, unless they're very small cruise ships or ships going there for like a night carrying only Europeans or Canadians wouldn't, and Americans can't go there, can they? Yeah. So that was the great boom when it was just opening up. So, I would go back tomorrow. I loved it so much. I mean, like you, I didn't give them any of my clothes, mind you, but
Jack's been to Petra, recognised it before you named it. Well done, Jack. I wouldn't have.
Had I remembered it right.
Yeah, Emily, I came across camels in Egypt. Yeah, there are quite a few camels in Egypt, Emily. At the pyramids, of course.
Yeah.
And Katie says, "Wow, what a wonderful experiences you've had, Sue," which you have.
Yeah, let me say that those pictures are taken over many, many years. They're not like all in the last week or anything.
Yeah, and Emily, I paddleboard too. That's a challenge, Emily.
Yes.
If I get on a paddleboard, I'll sink it.
We tried. We had another go in Greece, but we all fell off. So, but no, I want to get into paddleboarding. I loved it.
I've got another photograph I've got to show. This is wonderful. This is wow.
Oh, me with Joan Collins. Look at that.
Please tell us a story. How?
That was the launch of a Uniworld riverboat called the Joie de Vivre in Paris. I can't remember because you've plucked these things out of my Facebook. But that was I do like to get a selfie with celebs every now and then, and Dame Joan Collins. You know, obviously you've got to get a selfie with Joan Collins, and my dad was very proud of that. And I just said to her, "Please, can I have a selfie?" And she said, "Yes, all right." And she wasn't very happy, as you can see. But
well, she might be watching. You never know, do you, Sue? You know, if you're watching, Joan, you're looking wonderful.
She was amazing. She was incredible. She was the godmother of the ship. I mean, it was just the most beautiful spring day. We were moored right by the Eiffel Tower, right in the middle of Paris. Gorgeous weather, fantastic ship, and Joan Collins. I mean, you know, it was what a day.
I mean, if you get shorter things to write about next year, Sue, excuse me, that's my sherry going down me there. Cheers, guys. You've always got the Cruise Amigos European tour.
Well, tell me about the European tour.
Yeah, well, it's actually not till October next year, but we plan to cause chaos, guys, don't we?
Absolutely.
We probably will do, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a scary one, yeah. We're starting off in Venice.
Woo!
And Chile is going to be kayaking, you know, in Venice, aren't you, Chile?
Yeah.
It's going to be doing all that.
They don't have the holes big enough in kayaks for me to get in. I keep telling you that, Pete.
Gondola.
It's with it's good with Norwegian Cruise Line on the Dawn. We do Venice, and then we go to the Greek islands, which which sounds idyllic. Some of the islands look incredible, and Croatia.
Yeah,
you know, because Croatia just looks absolutely incredible. I mean, we had our guest from the Katerina line on board recently, and the photographs that we've seen, also from Anderson as well. Croatia just looks a stunning country. It really does.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to be in Montenegro as well, and then we have 3 days in Rome when we come off the ship. Yeah, and then we go on to the Epic. But in Rome, Chile again, he's going to be rollerblading down to the Vatican, aren't you, Chile?
Absolutely. I'm going down to have some wine with the Pope. I keep telling you, people, I'm going to have a glass of wine with the Pope.
Holy wine.
Yes, absolutely. Now, John, if you don't know, this is absolutely true. Yeah, John is currently taking flying lessons, aren't you, John?
Oh.
Yeah, John is taking flying lessons. So hopefully, John is going to be flying his plane. And there you are, John.
What, all the way to Rome?
Yeah.
Yes.
Captain John. What do you think? Yeah. And I've got a photograph of me in my pirate's outfit. And guess who's going to be by my side? Captain Chile. Honestly, sorry,
how do
guys.
I get onto this tour? How do I join it?
You just say, "Let's go," and we're ready.
I think it'd be wonderful. I think the Sunday Times and the Times viewers would love the chaos that we call. I think it's more likely going to be more like National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Would have an appeal for sure.
Yeah, but can you imagine it? So yeah, it'd be fantastic, Sue, if you join us. But that is next October, so it's a long time for us to go. And maybe we're hoping on one of the Virgin ships, Virgin Voyages. That's a possibility as well.
I thought
they haven't cruised yet. I mean, how do you feel about a cruise line like Virgin Voyages, Sue, that hasn't cruised? Everything they've done and they haven't cruised yet.
I feel terribly sorry for them because they've, you know, I went to their showcase day in Dover in vile weather when they came. God, it seems like a lifetime ago. Was that in February? I think it was in February this year.
It was February. I was there with you, Sue.
Oh yes, that's right. Even though we know. Yes.
I was the idiot on top
in my
deck.
cabin, were you? No.
I was in your cabin waiting. Yeah, I was the idiot on top deck trying to film in like what felt like a hurricane. Yeah.
Yes.
And Richard's rooftop. I wanted to get Richard's rooftop, so I sneaked into his rooftop, and I was being blown everywhere and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so
the sound came out on my little videos, like right, just wind and way. I know. I feel very sorry for them because they haven't actually had a proper cruise yet with passengers. So, and they've got another ship coming. So, yeah, I mean, when they get going, it'll be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
It must be a
One
fun
of the things
thing.
you mentioned on other lines that are starting was Coral Expeditions in Australia.
Yeah, Coral Expeditions have announced they're getting going.
Have you ever sailed with them before?
No, I haven't. I mean, I would love to. I mean, for a start, these are for Australians only, Australian passengers, Australian crew, Australian ports. Super, super strict. I mean, I can't remember what the original protocols they announced were. You have to self-isolate before you even go on the ship.
Yeah.
Whether that's in this latest set of rules, I don't know. But they are absolutely determined to sail and absolutely determined to keep it off the ship. And Australia is doing pretty well at the moment, but they're on such strict lockdown. So, I mean, people from one state can't even get to another state to go on these cruises. But it's a start. You know, it's good.
And Paul says, hello, everybody. I'm booked on a transatlantic from Florida to Barcelona, April 2021. I just looked up Sue's webpage. Yeah. I mean, Paul, I do think that's going to happen. I don't know who you're booked with, but we've done I've met John on a transatlantic crossing. Could you believe? Yeah, that's where it all kind of started from. And transatlantics are just a wonderful way of going on a cruise. I really do. I've met so many amazing people. And it's an affordable way as a solo traveler as well, because you tend to get better. Have you done a transatlantic crossing?
I have, yeah. I've done 3 on the Queen Mary 2.
Oh, wow.
So
the ocean liner.
One as a solo. No, 2 as a solo, actually. 1 as a solo, 1 with my kids and 1 with my partner. And you're right, it's party central. You get into that pub in the evenings, the karaoke and
yeah, we all do. Except me, I can't sing.
But I've only been on 1 cruise line on a transatlantic. I'd like to do it again. I would always do it again. I love long sea passages. The more days at sea, the better, as far as I'm concerned. It's brilliant.
If you haven't ever cruised before, and it's something that you really wanted to do, so yeah, and obviously you're seeing all the publicity, you're not too sure about how things. What's the biggest advice that you would give to somebody who's saying, do you know what, I really want to cruise, but I don't know how to do it. How should I go about doing it? When's a good time to do it? When's the best time to do it safely? What advice would you give them?
Well, it's slightly different advice in the time of COVID to what it would have been a year ago. But I mean, my advice would be take a shortish cruise. If you're not confident about how your sea legs will be, then take something that has short sea passages, so spends more time in port. Obviously go somewhere, let it be destination led, let it go somewhere you really want to go, and pick a cruise line that suits your personality. So whether it's a small ship or a luxury ship or even a river ship or a big party ship. So don't ever book it on price. Do not ever just think this looks like a cheap deal, I'm going to book it, because the chances are you'll end up on the wrong kind of ship for you and then you'll hate it. So my advice would be plan, talk to an expert. Hello, experts. But when you say
we've got one expert here, that's something.
Yeah, plan it, talk to an expert, get them to match you to the ship and you to the itinerary. And still after many, many years in this business, the single biggest question I get asked is, will I get seasick? Will I get seasick? Will I get bored? And the answer is no, you are not going to get bored. Will you get seasick? It's extremely unlikely, but if you do, and if you're worried, it will become an obsession. So take a cruise that, yeah, all right.
And do you think that now, because of what's gone on with COVID and in the travel industry, that you would recommend maybe booking with a travel agent, because you then have the personal service that a travel agent can give you if things don't go right, especially chasing refunds, for instance. I mean, we had a travel agent on a show called Eileen, and Eileen spends most of her mornings chasing refunds for people, and she does all that, and then in the evenings it's new bookings. So would you recommend a travel agent for someone who hasn't cruised before?
Well, certainly in the UK, if you book an inclusive package with a flight in it, and then a flight and a cruise, and the cruise is then cancelled, it's a lot easier to get a refund for everything. And I suppose security is something people are thinking about a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think in America the travel agent experience is different. A lot of it's very, very personal, I think, isn't it? And people have got their own little set of clients, and Well, here it's still a little bit. Often you might just walk into a high street shop and book a cruise, but I think either way you need advice. I think you need security. You need to know that you're going to get your money back if it's cancelled, because things are very unpredictable at the moment. So yes, I would book through an agent, and I would never book on price only, ever.
That's right. Totally
advice.
Well, I hope it's the same on your side of the pond. I imagine it is. It's people
pretty much. Yeah.
They still think, am I going to get seasick? Am I going to get bored? Can I get off the ship? And now the new thing is, am I going to be stranded? Am I going to be stuck on the ship? Will we have another Diamond Princess? I mean, I hope we will never have another Diamond Princess, for everyone's sake.
Yeah. Do you think the cruise industry is being treated well by the press? You know?
No, oh no. This has been awful. It's been absolutely, it's been trashed. And, you know, to some extent, because cruising attracts so much attention and so much passion, you can see why. And also, you know, things were bad in the beginning, but there were many other areas where things were bad in the early days of COVID, like, you know, and many areas of hospitality. But I think cruising continues to be treated very badly. Yes, I think, you know, every time I write a piece, you get the same comments, you get the same petri dish, and, oh, you wouldn't get me on one of those, sink them all, blah, blah, blah. And you also get people, well, you do. You also get people saying, no, I love cruising. I cannot wait to get back. There's always enough happy comments to counter the crazy people who've never been on a cruise.
I love that, yeah. And Emily's asked, do sea legs happen to everyone? I never got that, but feeling when I was on my first cruise in the door, maybe. I am 45. We don't. Oh, Emily, we didn't know how old you were. We thought that you don't look for it.
Dependent.
And she did a lot of walking on the ship, not the ship. She said, just curious. Emily says.
I think if you're going to get seasick, you can do something about it. Some people are very unlucky. Some people choose not to take the drugs. I personally opt for the drugs and plenty of other things too. And I mean, I've been seasick twice, and that was enough. So I'm prepared to take all it takes, you know, whatever it takes not to be seasick. So if Emily's not been seasick, she's very lucky.
Yeah, so far so good for me as well. The large agencies can get better deals, I suppose. The small agents provide better service. That's very true, Jack.
Yep.
And you,
Jack,
I
totally and respectfully disagree, Jack. I totally and respectfully disagree on that.
Go on, John.
That the large agencies get better deals. You got to show me that. I respectfully disagree that there are, you know, travel agents can find things. They're like right now, Norwegian Carnival just came out with the best deals that the biggest travel agency or the smallest person can get. I'm looking at them right here. So I just respectfully would say, in today's world, a few years ago, totally agree. But in today's world, you know, the best deals are probably right on your Sunday Times paper every week.
Yeah.
It's not a
same here as well. You know, you may think that a big agency will give you a better deal, but they may add things like free parking at the port and stuff. But I mean, often the cruise lines, if you book direct, will give you a decent deal. But most agents have access to very similar.
The exact same things. And I'll tell you why. It's like when I go to the big meetings and stuff, there's the person from Norwegian, there's a person from Carnival talking to agents, and they're saying, we promise we're giving your clients the best deal. You know, you can't come to us and say, hey, why does Joe get a better deal over there? There's got to be another reason why someone's offering something that you can't offer the same. Because at no time do they want 5,000 travel agents knocking on their door going, how come Cynthia got a better deal than my client? So
same here. Exactly the same here.
Well, I guess I'm one of the lucky ones. I've never been seasick, and I started cruising. My first cruise was in 1978, and on boats that had no stabilizers. I mean, when you were in a storm, you literally got banged off the walls to walk down the corridors. And I've never been seasick a day in my life.
Another question.
We've been on the Cunard Christmas cruise of December 2000 through the Irish Sea in a force 12. Let me tell you, even the crew was seasick. It was an epic voyage.
So, I mean, talking about a nice positive thing as well. what have we got to look forward to as far as the cruises are concerned? Because before COVID hit, we had there's lots of cruise lines had new ships. I think Norwegians and Leonardo as the new ones, what they call them. What do we have to look forward to with the new ships out there that are coming up? They may be delayed, but they are coming.
To be honest, I think the just to be look forward to just being able to go on a cruise. P&O Iona was supposed to launch this autumn, and they said that this is a very big deal for Brits. They said they were going to launch the ship, I think, in the autumn, but now I imagine they'll take over the ship, but it won't sail. But that was going to be revolutionary, with loads of different bars and restaurants and a whole different design and entertainment. So, but we've almost forgotten that. We've forgotten about things like revolutions in cruise ship design and entertainment, because all we're thinking about now is, can we get back on a ship? So any ship would do, frankly, but Iona will be different. Loads of expedition ships were supposed to launch and will be. Real high-end things like Silver Origin in the Galapagos, which is there now and ready to go and may even be sailing, I'm not sure. Silver Moon, Silver Sea, which is supposed to launch in November, but again, will we get to go on it? But yeah, we've forgotten about the roller coasters and the fancy shows and the big name chefs, because all we want is to get back on a ship.
Go-karts. I was on the go-kart on the Norwegian Encore. I was driving under the bridge in New York on the go-karts.
Anything.
Incredible.
Because just desperate to get back to sea rather than even worrying about the gimmicks and the fancy things. Obviously in a year, maybe everything will be different, but I think we all just want to get back on a ship, have that feeling like, me hanging out the balcony door and feeling the wind in your face and you're on the water. I think that's overridden all the gimmicks, all the excitement and everything is just being back on a ship.
Have you been invited or on the MSC cruises or the Costa cruises in your role as a journalist for those times?
No, I have a British passport, so I'm not eligible to go. But
did Costa not mention that maybe it's possible for Brits to sail on the Costa ship in the next month or so? Is that possible?
I'm not sure. They certainly haven't approached the Times.
So what hope do we have, us in the UK, in that case? And we are talking about probably next year in the springtime.
Yeah, I think so. I think, obviously you can go on a cruise. There are certainly places you can go, but you have to break the rules, like I did when I went to Greece. So you have to be able to insure yourself, which I did. But did
you have to quarantine when you came back?
No, not from Greece. No.
Okay.
No. But
the rules you broke were the fact that you were on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I broke the Foreign Office regulation that it's advice, not a regulation, that you shouldn't cruise. So I got special insurance, which is very easy to get here, costs very little, and it insured me to go on the cruise. So we can go on cruises, but we can't. We'd have to get insurance, and there's no significant big ship sailing that Brits can go on. Or
another question: I noticed that the cruise lines and some of the airlines, like Virgin, for instance, they were actually given you the COVID insurance as part of the package.
MSC are doing that. Yep. And the testing, everything. And that's what it's going to take. And I think it will happen. I think, it will become normal that you will go to your check-in and you will be tested. You'll probably already have a negative test from 2 days before, and you'll be tested again, and then you'll be allowed on the ship. So bring it on. That's all I say.
I think MSC did a masterful job of the video from the first cruise. I thought it was terrific.
Yes, it spelled it all out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think we're definitely all going to be in that situation. And again, I think the most important thing is the testing side of things, is to get these rapid tests out there everywhere.
Or a vaccination if we're lucky, but both, everything.
So you feel absolutely safe on a cruise ship now then? If you're invited on one, you feel safe?
Well, I can't say that because I haven't been invited on very much yet, anything big. I would feel safe on MSC, for example. I would feel very safe in what the cruise line is doing. How safe I would feel in how the other passengers behaved, I don't know, but I think they are generally very compliant. If you've got some crazy person running around without a mask on saying, I refuse to wear a mask, then no, I wouldn't feel safe. But look, I went to buy a cup of coffee this morning in a coffee shop, and the people there were behind a screen, but they're not wearing a mask, and one of them was coughing, and I thought, oh my God, I'm not coming here again. No way.
The problem
have you actually written about MS? Sorry, John, have you written about MSC at all in the Times?
Yes. Yeah, the last big launch, but not since then. I mean, look, we've not really written much about big ships at all this year. So,
sorry, John.
The problem with the vaccine in America is going to be that it's become a political football.
definitely.
And a significant number of people have said they're not going to get it, just like they refuse to get flu shots every year.
Well, look, I think if a cruise line says you have to have had the vaccine to get on, then that's what it's going to be. And
but that's not going to help those of us that play the game, want to be as safe as we can, and want to do it because the virus is going to keep kicking up over here in our country all the time because of the non-participation of a significant number of people in our country. And it's very frustrating. And I'm, you know, I try not to make it political, but it's so drawn along these lines that, you know, it just depends on who you listen to the evening news.
I think most of us in the cruise side of things, John, we're just looking for hope, you know, more than anything else, Sue, isn't it?
Totally
it's
agree.
hope.
Totally.
You know, and I think
and Costa have done that. They've provided that hope. They've shown that you can do it in a big ship. You can.
Yeah, I think the job that MSC have done and Costa so far as well, you know, it's just been incredible. I was really worried when they announced that we're cruising on such a big ship, to be honest with you. And I was thinking, here we go again. But it's given me hope that I would feel as a cruiser safe knowing I got on board a ship that everybody was tested. And I think that with testing, once they get the testing quick and reliable, then I think I'll be happy to get on a plane. I'll be happy to go on a cruise. And I think it will then open everything up. I mean, have you heard the same thing, Sue? Do you get the same feeling about that?
Oh, well, I think people who want to go on a cruise are going to go on a cruise. And I think that the testing and all the protocols are only going to make that a stronger wish to go on a cruise because they understand that it's clean and it's safe. I mean, but you can't really account for the ones that slip through the net. You know, there will always be something. So what the big issue is going to be is how it's handled. When one slips through the net, when somebody tests positive on board, how is it handled? Do you get stuck? That's going to be the issue. And you know, the bigger the ship, the bigger the chance, I suppose, of that happening. But so far, it's gone very well. And we
haven't seen that yet. We don't know what that's going to be like because we haven't had a failure yet.
Only on small ships. On the cruise had bad luck, and Paul Gauguin did, but they're sailing again. So
So do you think 2021 is going to be the year when we go mad cruising again? Where we all, for instance, I've got my group Cruises for Solos, and it's very difficult to keep everything going because you can't talk about cruising that much because nobody's cruising. To be honest with you.
Once the no sail order is lifted, and once the Foreign Office advisory is lifted, I think people are going to go crazy, and everything is going to be booked. All the future cruise credits are going to be used up. People are going to go wild and just get going. So
and we'll be following you, Sue, all around the world again, won't we?
Yes.
That sounds great.
It really does.
Well, I hate to do this, folks, but it's that time. The witching hour is upon us. Sue Bryant, as always, the Cruise Amigos love you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing us such wonderful information and being such a wonderful friend. We do appreciate it. And for all you guys who are out there in the audience today, thanks for being with us. We always appreciate it. We always appreciate thumbs up to the videos. We appreciate you subscribing to our YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff and checking us out on Facebook and any of that stuff. Other than that, guys, we'll be seeing you next time. This is Chili from over here in Virginia with the Cruise Amigos live from London. See you guys.